grants and other grants are available. What we're asking them to do, Mr. Chairman, is simply to look at grants that are available for this technology. That would be a huge benefit to the citizens of the state of Arizona to help detect and apprehend drug traffickers and human smugglers on the border. And we know the violence is going on. We had 69 homicides along the border just in one day a couple of weeks ago, just in one day.
The 69 murders you refer to, isn't that true? Those have all happened in Mexico. There certainly has been an issue of more border violence in Mexico, but none of those happened in the U.S., did they?
Absolutely not true. Most of what we're talking about there were in Mexico, but it's along the border. These are all border regions, drug cartels who traffic.
You're talking about the 69 murders you talked about. Did any of those happen in the U.S.?
Mr. Patterson? Mr. Patterson?
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Through the chair, please.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Pierce, I'm being very specific. The 69 murders you just talked about that happened in the last few days, have any of those happened in the U.S.? And can you tell me where? Or were they in Juarez or in other places? Because Juarez is in Chihuahua. It's not in the U.S. Chair, and I request this committee be run in a fair manner where members have an opportunity to ask questions of bill sponsors.
Mr. Chair, I actually thought I was doing that for you.
Pardon me, Mr. Chair?
I actually thought I was doing that for you.
I disagree. Mr. Chair, and since you're still here, Mr. Pierce, I hope you're listening. The technology on this is not proven. Somehow the sponsor of the bill seems to think he knows better than the professionals that write things like the Police Chief magazine. I'm also troubled that this bill has been pushed by one particular company that could financially benefit. Lobbyists came and said they wanted to introduce this bill. I'm troubled. That's how business is getting done. DPS didn't ask for this. The Border Patrol hasn't asked for us. Now, I agree. We have a serious problem on our border. We need tough immigration reform in this country. But to order our state police to mess around with a special interest application of unproven technology that could waste officers' time in the future, I think is unwise. We don't need to do this. It hasn't worked. We've had a lot of problems with the application of this so-called technology on the border. It hasn't worked. And, you know, Mr. Chair, I have to also say I'm troubled that the way that this particular bill has been run in this committee today. I think you have a duty as chairman to make sure that reasonable questions from members are answered. Mr. Pierce, you answered none of my questions. I asked very specific questions. They were not answered, and that's only because I can assume you don't have the answers. Or you just step up to the mic and you make things up. That, to me, is troubling. We need to make decisions based on facts,
Mr. Patterson.
not based on what you make up.
Mr. Patterson.
Mr. Chair, I'm explaining my vote.
Mr. Patterson, do it in a proper quorum.
I am doing it in a proper forum, Mr. Chair. I have every right to say this. This is my right as a member of the House of Representatives. You're entitled to your own opinions. You're not entitled to your own facts. And that's what I find troubling. We don't get a lot of facts on your bills. We get a lot of rhetoric. Your approaches on immigration in the state have failed for years. This bill will not work. I think it's a failure. I'm explaining my vote, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Patterson, explain your vote.
That's what I'm
doing.
Do
not impugn the witnesses, or we're going to...
Not impugning anyone, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
And finally, again, I think it undermines the effectiveness of this committee when members ask questions and the chair shuts down the member rather than requiring a straight answer to a very clear question. Committees should not be run that way. I vote no.
Ms. Reed? Aye. Mr. Myers?
I'm going to explain my vote. And I probably shouldn't, but I can't help myself. I think the witness did as good as he could at the time trying to explain the questions asked. Mr. Patterson, quite often when you ask a question, you follow up with 15 other questions, and it's difficult for somebody to answer that question. Then when you try to shut them off and not allow them to speak, that's what I was doing. I gave you every opportunity. You could have talked for 6 hours. I gave you every opportunity. I was trying to get you to ask one question and allow them to finish answering that question before you started your next. Not once did I ever shut you down and not allow you to speak. Not once. You were impugning the witness, and I will not stand for that in this committee. I will not. If you don't think that I'm right, you can certainly request to get off this committee. I wouldn't have a problem with that. But I don't think that's necessary. I value your opinions. I don't necessarily agree with your opinions.
What does that have to do with your vote?
I'm explaining my vote, Mr. Patterson.
Okay.
You're not the chairman here. I am. With that said, I believe the testimony from an expert witness on these particular instruments gave good testimony, said in fact that it's better than it has been in the past. You know, using what I heard earlier about technology is not proven, why are we doing it? Why are we doing cancer research? Why are we treating people for cancer today if it hasn't been proven that it's solving cancer? Why don't we just wash away and let people die? That's not the way it works. We continually keep trying to make technology better to try to make people's lives better. With that, I vote aye. Members with 5 voting aye, 2 voting nay, 0 present, 0 voting present, and 1 absent, you have passed Senate Bill 1027. Mr. Pierce, I apologize for that. Next one is what?
11.3.
Our next bill is 1123.